Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hey, Donnie Gupton here, creator of the Relevant Recruiter Method. Today, we are going to talk about being a generalist and why that's actually causing a lot more frustration for you than you think. So, a lot of times when my clients start working with me, they have more of a generalist approach. And the challenge with being a generalist doesn't have anything to do with your ability to recruit. It always comes back into your ability to do business development and have a successful marketing campaign. Okay, so when you're looking at this, depending on where you're at in your business, whether you're starting out or if you've been doing this for 10 or 20 years, the challenge when you are a generalist is, again, going back into the marketing thing, is you can't craft messaging that gets people to take action. Now, again, you can fill the role. And this is usually what's hard for a recruiter to actually end up picking a niche, is because they know, hey, well, I can fill a role for an IT engineer because I'm good with people just as easy as I can fill a role of a restaurant manager, right? And I'm not here to argue that. I mean, I'm sure that you probably can. But typically what being a generalist usually stems from is because we have a scarcity mindset. We think that, hey, if I can keep my playing field open and I can service all these different companies, then I can generate more revenue that way. And oftentimes it's actually the opposite, because we're pulled in so many different directions. We typically don't get as much traction. It creates a lot of problems in our business. And going into, if you're really trying to scale your business and if you're really trying to build a marketing plan that is going to attract people to you, then you need to have messaging. And so if you try to create messaging that really tries to resonate with everybody, typically it's going to resonate with nobody. But today I was talking to one of my clients, and she works in the medical space, and you think about medical and how broad that is, and a lot of the responses she was getting from her current activities, people were confused. Well, the reason is because she wasn't talking to a specific target market. Her target market was, or the list that she had and the people she was communicating with, people from all different kind of walks in the medical field, right? And so when we kind of can double down on a market, and you can really, how you choose to niche is, obviously 100% up to you, but you can say, okay, my field is healthcare, or you can take it even further and say my field is in healthcare, but I focus on medical practices, and the medical practices I focus on are, less than $100 million, right? And the reason you want to do this is because if you start trying to communicate with people, let's just take the most extreme examples. Let's take a startup versus a Fortune 500 company. The pains and the problem that they have around hiring and getting talent are night and day. All right, so how do you expect to create a message that resonates with all these different audiences, right? And so, if you're doing it the old school way and you're cold calling and trying to knock on doors, then yeah, you can kind of craft a tailored message, to the person you're on the phone with. But if you're trying to do inbound marketing, you need to really have that message dialed in, because that's how they're actually going to respond to you, right? Is by being able to clearly communicate to them what their pains are, what their problems are, and how you're the best version to solve them, right? And so if you look at what I do with recruiting, right, I could really, my methodology and what I can do, I can teach across multiple verticals, but I choose recruiting because I can talk to you guys about the challenges you have with keeping a filled pipeline, balancing out your schedule of doing candidate sourcing and business development, cold calling, lack of brand awareness, things that are common things that I hear over and over and over again within the industry. So the moral of the story here, guys, is when we pick a target market, that'll really allows us to build our branding and build messaging to that specific target market. And if you're struggling with getting people to respond, then you need to figure out, well, am I actually talking to an audience? Am I actually trying to talk to a certain group of people here? If you're looking, again, going back into me as an example, I don't try to talk to the big monstrous companies. I try to talk to the individual, independent recruiter, boutique type, search firms and things like that, because that's my market, right? And once we do that, then that's when the floodgates can open up, right? So the myth is that, hey, if I'm a generalist, I'm going to be able to get more business. And really, if you become the go-to in a specific niche, you'll have more business than you ever thought about having. So take action. If you're not niched, then niche. If you are niched, but you feel like you can actually niche down more, then I encourage you to actually niche down more. Don't let the scarcity mindset come into play when it comes to picking your niche and thinking that there's not enough, because there is enough, right? And that's the last thing that you want to do, is have that scarcity mindset come into play and be like, oh, well, I can't do this in this market because there's just not going to be enough there. When in fact, like I said, it's the opposite. When I pick out that small market and I become the biggest fish in that pond, I can own that pond and I can communicate with the people in there. I can build a brand in there. And that's why it's so important that you need to niche yourself out. Being a generalist, again, I'm not arguing that you can't fill the role. You can fill the role, you can do the job. It's just going to be very difficult to scale the business unless you have a lot of money. But if you're trying to grow your business efficiently and you're trying to, adopt more of a modern approach to lead generation, then you need to speak clearly to a specific audience. So leave a comment below in what niche you serve, or in a niche that you are thinking about serving. I'd love to see your feedback on that. This is Donnie. We'll see you in the next one.